Last video, we had a look at functions, and we had a look at relations, and the idea that a function is a special kind of relation. We were introduced to the idea of domains and ranges, and in this video, we're going to have a look specifically at formal notation for domain and range, so that if you're asked what is the domain or what is the range, you are able to write it down pretty formally. Now, I have to say that in 315, they're pretty much okay with you writing in any old way, which does specify what that set of inputs is or what that set of outputs is. So that's okay. But you might be shown the domain and range in different set notations. So I'm going to briefly show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to settle on one notation and explain to you how to use that. So we're looking at slide 4 here, which I'll zoom up on so you can sort of see it here. So the two main ways to describe a set notation is this formal set notation here, where you've got X, and this means belongs to or is a member of is formal. So X belongs to, and this R with an extra bar in it simply means all real numbers. So X belongs to all real numbers. That's the domain for f of x equals x plus 1 all squared. Doesn't matter what I put in there. If it's a number, I can put it in as an input. And then the range is y belongs to the set of all real positive numbers. That's what the plus means. And then this is the union symbol, which means join it with the set 0. So it means all positive real numbers plus 0, which is what this would be. Okay, all positive real numbers. So you can see that's why the range is that. Complicated, but I prefer it. But what we're going to focus on, because it's fairly simple to see, is this thing called interval notation. Now, the main drawback of interval notation is that sometimes it looks like a pair of coordinates, but it's not. Now, I'm going to explain it in more detail through examples. So this little example here is just to show you what it looks like. Again, for the domain, I describe it as X belongs to, and then I have this funny old notation here, which I'll explain more in a second. And for the range, Y belongs to, and then some other notation here, which I'll explain in a moment. There's also an informal way of writing it. You can see it down the bottom there. You could write the domain as being X. This kind of means X is between minus infinity and infinity. And so you've got greater than and less than to describe that. And for range, you've got Y greater than or equal to 0. Now, it's not a formal way of writing it, but in 315, if you do write the informal notation, as long as you get it right, you will get full marks for describing the domain and range in that way. But if you can, try and get hold of at least interval notation for this year, so that you're at least on the track for 415. Okay, let's have a look at some examples of interval notation, and that'll do for this video. So let's have a look at the top slide there. X belongs to bracket 3, 4. Now, don't confuse this with a pair of coordinates. This is not the coordinate 3, 4. Okay, what this means is that that X can be anything from 3 to 4. So that means 3, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.1415. So pi is between 3 and 4. So all of those things are appropriate. So this means, I'll just write it in. X is between 3 and 4. Okay, and here's the kicker. The round brackets mean not including 3 and 4. This one here the next example uses square brackets. And when you see square brackets, that means the same thing as the round brackets, except that the endpoints are also included. And so X between 3 and 4 here is a bit more precisely written as X is between 3 and 4, including 3 and 4. We could just say inclusive there. So the way I would say this a little bit more precisely, I just wanted to spell it out for this, is X is between 3 and 4, and here I would say X is between 3 and 4 inclusive. Okay, you can mix and match the brackets, which is what slide 2 does. So here we have a round bracket here and a square bracket here. Maybe have a think about what that means. Pause the video, maybe have a look at all the other examples and see if you can figure out what's going on here. Okay, You either paused or you didn't. That's okay. You might have just verbalized it, or maybe you just want me to unpack it. So I will. Again, the fact I'm using X means I'm talking about domain, and the fact I'm using Y means I'm talking about range. But the interval notation is the same whether you're saying X or Y. So this means Y is between, or Y belongs to the set, if you want to be really precise, but I'm just trying to be a bit quicker with it. So Y is between 3 and 4, 4 included, not 3. And this one is Y is between 3 and 4, 3 included, not 4, like so. Now, there's a special case when it comes to infinity. So infinity is really a concept. It's not a hard number. So it doesn't make sense to use square brackets when you're talking about infinity. So if you want to describe as x being any possible number at all, you're going to use infinity to describe it. And if I wanted to say x is any possible number at all, I would say x is between negative infinity and infinity. This is basically the equivalent of r. So x is any real number, like so. If I wanted to just describe something which takes all y values up until 4, I could do that. I'll use that mixture there just for the sake of it. So that would mean y is any real number less than 4, including 4. Okay. And maybe I'll leave this one without writing anything, so I don't have enough room. But that, for example, would mean x is everything from 0 to infinity, but not including 0. Okay, so that's how we use that. So you might want to finish this off yourself. I'll put it into the notes, but I won't write it in now, but I'll just say it verbally. So in summary, we have square brackets or round brackets. When a square bracket is used, it means the value is included. If we use a round bracket, it means the value is not included. And interval notation means that from one number to the next, say from one number to the next, every value between those two numbers is included.